Page 15, Joy to the World. On page, 13, they're starting Unit 2. Going to learn all kinds of new stuff. Starting out pretty hot and heavy here too. They're introducing you to the scale of C major. And on page 12, they're introducing you to tetrachords. When I was little and learning to play piano and growing, I used the John Thompson, or my teacher did, and I went along. And John Thompson uses tetrachords to teach the scales. Totally messed me up, and I've hated tetrachords ever since. A terrible way, in my opinion, to learn scales. However, they're presented in the book, so okay, we'll cover it. Tetra means four. So a tetrachord is a four-note chord. It's like a triad is a three-note chord. Tetrachord is a four-note chord. Pentachord is a five-note chord. You can go on from there. And the idea with tetra is that it kind of splits the scale up very nicely. Conveniently. Now, we don't use the thumbs. We're just using these. Let's take the key of C major. That's the scale they're introducing. We have a lot of different key signatures in piano. We'll learn these in time. C major has no sharps or flats. It's all the white keys on the piano. That's why we generally start with it. It's just a real convenient way because the piano is laid out very nicely with the white and black keys in the pattern it's in. Yeah. So in C, we're going to go C to C. We're going to use all the white keys, and I'm just going to do this. So I got one tetrachord here, and I got one tetrachord here. It just works out. And all the major scales work the same. You can do this and apply it to any major scale. You'll be fine. Because they give you C tetra and G tetra and D tetra. Okay. Well, let's examine this closely here. It's important. You know what a whole step and a half step is by now, I hope. A half step is the next note, white or black. So it's like, that's a half step, half step, half step, half step, half step. A whole step is just two halves. It's got one note in between. That's a note in between, whole step, whole step. That would be a whole step because it's got, if I do this, that's a whole step because it's got one note. Okay, so we got whole steps and half steps. Well, the pattern on tetrachords is the same for each. It's a whole, half. That's it, whole, half. And the other one, same thing, whole, half. And there's a whole step in between them. So that's the pattern for any major scale. On the tetrachords, whole, half, and then whole, half, with a whole step in between them. That's it. You can start on any note, and if you follow that pattern, you'll get a major scale. You may not know what the scale is, but you'll get it. And that's what they're doing there. And that's really about all I have to say about tetrachords. I would prefer you learn the C major scale and these scales correctly, the way that you'll carry on, because you won't use tetrachords hardly at all. And that is, do it the way I do it in my scale videos. So go to my playlist on musical scales. Go find it. I'll give you a link, but you go find it. Watch the introductory video so you understand how I'm doing it. And then go to the C major scale and do the beginner's portion. The one octave up and down. Do everything I say in there. I got a trill exercise. We accent. We flex the wrist. Everything. I don't teach a lot of technique in my videos, but on the scales I try and teach some, and it's really, really important. I'm not giving you any extra nice to know information there. It's all important. If you're really serious about learning this, you need to do that. At the bottom of page 13, they're giving you the fingering for the scale for the hands here, because the thumb plays the F. And for the left hand, same thing. You don't go that fast, of course. The point is, I cover all of that in the scales, and when I study scales, I prefer not to use written music. There are books, scale books and things, and I've had requests to cover scale books. No, I don't like using that approach for learning scales. I want to concentrate on the keyboard and the fingering and what's going on and the technique. I don't need written music for scales. Forget it. You will find knowing the scale makes playing in that key signature a lot easier. And you'll find when you get a run, you see run all over. Those are scales for the most part. Yeah. So it's like in Joy to the World. Look at the left hand's playing here. Just forget the rhythm. Just play these notes. It's a C major scale going down. That's Joy of the World at the start. You just add the rhythm. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2. You just add the rhythm and you got it. And scales are all over in music. So yeah, it's cool to know. Now let's talk Joy to the World a little better here. Now when we look at a piece of music and examine it, we got to think about the key signature. See, we haven't been talking too much about key signatures because I don't think the book has introduced them yet. They're introducing them. We're in the key of C major, like it or not. I don't know if it actually says that, but it does. But it's got it at the bottom, page 14, playing a C major scale. So when you look at a piece of music and you don't see any sharps or flats, it's probably C major. There is another scale with the same key signature, but we're not there yet. So right now in this book, if there's no sharps or flats, it's C major. And make sure, that tells you, okay, I got to make sure I can do the C major scale. Cover it. Because those are the notes that are going to be used in the piece, except for accidentals. Those are throwing it off. So let's go over this carefully. 4/4 time, key of C major, no sharps or flats. Okay, we got dotted rhythms. I hope you understand dotted rhythms. Right hand first. You're starting here. We're moving around now. So starting here. So it's 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Now, I'll tell you again, and I'll tell you a million times, I don't care how long it takes, a dotted half note is the same as 3 quarter notes. Just memorize it. So if you know what a quarter note gets, the dotted half note gets 3 times that much. I'll talk more about the dotted half note in a minute. Just remember that, okay? So measure 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and then 5th finger here. This way we're in position it's a scale. We have to play the G twice, but it's still a fingering for a scale. Here, we'll just play the note twice, okay. And that dotted rhythm there on measure 9. 1 and 2 and 3. Just briefly, let's cover. It's important you understand dotted rhythms and they're not difficult. The G, the first note, comes on beat 1 in this case here. And the quarter note takes up a whole beat. The dot comes on beat 2 because the quarter note takes up all of beat 1. The dot comes after it, that's beat 2. And the dot gets half the value of the note, therefore a dot is the same as an 8th note. In other words, a dotted quarter note is the same as 3 8th notes. Does that ring a bell? So the 8th note that comes after, and it doesn't have to be an 8th note, it could be anything. Whatever comes after comes on the and of 2 here. So it's 1 and 2 and, because the dot comes on 2. 1 and dot. And that's the dotted rhythm. All dotted rhythms work the same way. You can count them out that way. Now let's go back over to measure 5. On the dotted half note, it's the same thing. The half note gets 2 counts. That takes up beats 1 and 2. The dot comes on beat 3, and the dot gets half the value of the half note. The half note gets 2 counts. The dot gets 1. You put them together. So something else then comes on beat 4 because the dot takes up beat 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, dot, 4. And it's the same as 3 quarter notes. It's just different ways of looking at it. So a dotted note is the same as 3 of whatever its next note down is. And it depends on the situation. You may look at one situation one way and another way, whatever helps you to understand it. But I don't want to keep going deeply into dotted notes. I expect you to grasp this eventually. So start again at measure 8. You're here, quarter note, 1 and 2 and 3. Then measure 11, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. You're staying in the position. Then measure 15, 1 and 2 and 3 and. You reach up to the octave. An octave is note to note or letter to letter. C to C, A to A, F to F, whatever, it's an octave. here. So it's used a lot in piano. You'll get used to that feeling octaves, and that's okay. So right now you gotta look to see where it is and connect it. And then after that you can collapse the hand. 1 and 2 and left hand. Here. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. Again, just briefly the dotted rhythms. It's so important you understand this. First measure, the half note takes up 2 beats. The dotted quarter note, the quarter note part of it comes on beat 3. The dot comes on beat 4 because the quarter note takes up a whole beat. So the eighth note comes on the and of 4. 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, and all dotted rhythms work the same way. Measure 6. You got an F and a G together. 1 and 2 and 3 and 3 rest. Put the hands together. Well, the first few measures is left hand only, so let's start on measure 5. You're here. 1, 2, 3. So all these notes here, and the lift up on the 5th finger, then in the right hand. 1 and 2, and while you're doing this, you got to get the left hand in position. So it's again as I'm moving the left hand. 1 and 2. Here. Make sure these eighth notes are by themselves. Lift up the left hand. Get the idea. Measure 16, where the octave is, you're going to hear. And when you play the eighth note, lift the left hand up, because it's got a quarter rest. 1, 2, 3. So you go through it a few hundred times or whatever, get the hands working together and get rid of the hesitation so it is a steady beat. It can be slow as fine, but it's got to be a steady beat. And then we add in the articulation, the slurs. Connect these notes as best you can. Then lift up. So there's a little silence between them. So it's like taking a breath. And then connect. And then again lift up. Lift up, so there's a little silence there. So put in this, lift up between the phrases here. Lift up, and the chords you just do the best you can. Dynamics, well, this is a happy song. You're loud at first, whatever you think loud is. Not really loud, just loud. Because when you get to measure 5, you're 6, you're going to go up to very loud. On measure 7, very loud is not twice as loud as loud. It's just a little louder than loud. So in my opinion, on measure 5, you're loud here. And then go up just a little bit. And now, so I'm changing on each measure. I'm not changing on each note. Sometimes we have to spread it out. You have to plan these things out. But when you get to that measure 7, you're very loud there, and you're staying loud here. It's just a little louder than you were at the beginning. Now this causes a problem in piano playing. When playing very loud, it's too easy to start banging. Boom, 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 boom. We need to stay relaxed. The wrist needs to stay loose. So when you're playing loud, let the wrist collapse a little bit. Don't tense up and play. Just you can collapse the wrist. Stay relaxed. Then on measure 11 going into measure 12, you come down to moderate. It's going to feel soft compared to where you were because you're a lot softer. The left hand needs to be soft. And then measure 15 going into measure 16, you go back up to loud like you were at the beginning. But stay relaxed. Keep the wrist flexible throughout this. Don't tense up. If you find you're starting to tense up, stop. Shake it out. Try it again. It takes a little time to get the idea of playing really loud and relaxed at the same time. It took me forever to get it now. Well, not really forever. I mean, I do get it now, but it's okay. Speed, well, joyfully, it's not a speed, it's a mood, but that's okay because a lot of times the pieces where they tell you how fast to go, they don't tell you how fast to go. They tell you the mood of the piece, and from that you decide how fast you want to go. Now there's words to this, but they're not in this book. But it's the flow of the piece. It's not the speed of the beat. It's the flow of the piece. The overall, just be happy. That's an order. The fermata on measure 7, you just hold out until it sounds right. If I do this with a metronome, I'll just double the value and I'll hold it for 6 counts instead of 3, and then we go on. So whatever you can play accurately and smoothly and under control, that can be your speed. Now they've added pedal in a few places. Don't agree with it either. You don't need pedal on this, but they've done it, so okay. I'm going to push the pedal down with the notes because I'm loud, and when I'm loud I want the overtones immediately. So it's like a measure 6, it goes with the notes. I'm going to lift it with the notes because I want a little silence before I go on. Then I'll measure 13 with the notes. I'm just connecting the chords, and you have to be careful here because when you add the pedal to the chords, it makes them a lot, they get overpowered. Don't overpower this G. Keep the chord soft. So starting at measure 12, you're here. And lift the pedal up so we get a silence before we go on. And that's basically the pedal. You pedal the end. Alright, that's fine. Add pedal if you want, but as I said, you don't need pedal on this piece. Don't copy me, you make it yours, and don't go faster than what you can play accurately. I'd like to play it with you very slowly to double check the notes and the rhythms. I'm not going to do any dynamics. I'm going to play both hands about the same. We're not going to get louder and softer, none of that. The fermata, I'll hold 6 counts instead of 3 because I need to stay with the metronome. Now let's just try it slowly. I'll give us 4 counts. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3, hold, 2, go on. 1 and 2